The fabled Chrysler 440 six-pack was introduced in the middle of the 1969 model year, and by the beginning of 1972, it was gone. A short time in which this triple-double carburetor setup would become a legend. More than 50 years later, despite a reputation for being difficult to tune and maintain, it is a design that continues to influence the manufacture of much more modern intake systems. Whether you prefer the old school or the new, one thing is for sure: there's nothing quite like a six-pack.
And today I'm going to show you guys two kinds of six-packs, old school and new school. Hi, I'm Nick and welcome to my shop. You know, I've always loved the 426 Hemi, but second best to me is the 440 six-pack, what Dodge calls a six-pack, or what Plymouth calls the six-barrel. 3 carburetors, 2-barrel each, Holley carburetors. And they're both identical engines. Being a 340 or a 440, they are identical. Here, let me just show you for an example. When you have a Dodge product, it's written as six-pack. And you know, I grew up with these muscle cars and I've always loved the six-packs. There are a lot of people freak out how they look. Here's one right here. This is a V-Code Challenger that belongs to one of my friends. Here's a six-pack. 3 carburetors made by Holley, 2-barrel, 4-barrel, 6-barrel. So in other words, 2 barrels each times 3 equals 6-barrel or 6-pack. And there you have it. This is all factory, you guys. And you know, being a 6-pack on a 440 is a radical engine. It sure put the muscle car in the era at that time, because when that 6-pack was put on a 440, it changed the world in the street muscle cars. You know, back then they didn't have big 4 barrels. So then what Holley and Chrysler decided to do is go to a bigger carburetor, but they had only the 4-barrel, or they had 2 4-barrels, but they wanted to go in between. Then they said, you know what, let's do a 6-pack, 3 2-barrels, and there it is. They finally got it, and you know what, whoever invented that, great idea, and it works superb, let me tell you. And you know, we're speaking of 6-packs and 6-barrels. I've got one right here, just to show you they're not rare in my shop. I've got one here that belongs to a V-Code Challenger. Then we got a 70 Charger that belongs to a client of mine, which we installed a 6-pack. And then we've got another one over here. Come, let me show you. Here's one we're still working on right now. Here it is. This is being detailed. Here's another 6-pack because it's a Dodge. We're going to call it a 6-pack. It operates on the center carburetor with the throttle cable. And then when you go full throttle, when you put it to the floor, the vacuum secondaries here open up to 4 barrels on the outboard carburetors. In other words, on a 6-pack, once you floor it, you're on 2 barrels, and then when vacuum builds up, the other 2 barrels in the front and back open up at the same time. So in other words, it's 2 barrel while you're cruising, and full throttle, it's 6 barrels. There is no full barrel here. It's either 2 or 6. This is a very unique design. I love the plumbing on this. If you guys take a look, this is all factory. Look at all these fittings. You got to make sure that all these fittings are nice and tight, that there is no fuel leak, because if you take a good look, the distributor is right in front where there's a spark and fuel. So when you got a spark and fuel, you got a fire. So in this case, when you do have a 6-pack, you want to make sure that there is no fuel leaks. And like I was telling Robert, every time we put a fuel line on, we loosen tight the fittings, that the double flare makes a good seat, that there's no fuel leak. After all, these type of fittings, you don't put no sealer or Teflon. It's a flared end, and you got to make sure you have a good, tight, squeeze fit. And what's also unique is these air cleaners. They have a big oval air cleaner. I don't have one at the moment, but the air filter is this big, also made by Fram. And these air cleaners, by the way, were made in Canada back then. And the 6-pack came out in Chrysler in halfway through 1969, 69 and a half, right, Robert? 1969 and a half, and they ended up in early 1972. Look, you guys gotta admit, this is an awesome setup. Yes, compared to the 4-barrel versus the 6-pack, the 444 barrel made 375 horsepower versus the 6-pack, which made 390 horsepower. Same torque numbers, but horsepower, you got 15 more horsepower with a 6-pack or a 6-barrel. And of course, like I was showing you these past 3 cars here, they're all old school. But today I want to show you guys something interesting. I want to show you the old school versus the new school. I got new school and old school. But first, let's talk about old school that's on the dyno. Now this 440 6-barrel, because it belongs to a 69 Plymouth Roadrunner, it's a 6-barrel. It's identical to the other 3 cars outside. 3 carburetors, vacuum operated, and of course, all Holley carburetors, all the same. Old school. It belongs to a Plymouth Roadrunner 1969 that belongs to Matthew. And of course, he brought the engine back here after he got it painted. But we did some earlier tests on this engine, and we had it on video with a 4-barrel. You know, he's got aluminum heads on this thing. And you know, you always love the 6-pack. But he goes, Nick, let's try a 4-barrel before we go to the 6-pack, 6-barrel setup. We made some tests, and we had the air-fuel ratio corrected with the horsepower that we were looking for. Then we said, let's put the 6-pack on and see what it does. We did put the 6-pack on, but for some reason it ran very, very rich, because whoever had these carburetors before have drilled out the metering plates. The metering plates are on the outboard carburetors. Somebody drilled them out to get more fuel into the engine. For what reason, I do not know. So what Matthew did is he ordered a set of metering plates that we can adjust the jets to control the air-fuel ratio on this setup. So we ordered the plates, we did receive them, and we then removed the original metering plates on the outboard carburetors. Then we got some from ProMax, and their metering plates come with adjustable jets. See, these have been drilled out. Instead of welding it in and drilling it out, you got some metering plates that you can adjust it with jets just like any full barrel carburetor from Holley. So we finally got them done. We received them, we installed them, and then I put in the jets that it required. And I finally realized that the best air-fuel ratio were in the number 88 jets on front and rear outboard carburetors. We got them done, we did some testing, and right now I just want to show you guys how it runs. And you know, we need to get this thing done quick, because now Matthew wants to put the engine in the car underneath a full restoration. And of course, he wants to go to a show that's coming up very soon, and he's short for time. So I just got to do a test so I can deliver this engine back to him tomorrow. And of course, before it goes, I want to make sure it performs to its best. Then after this test, I'm going to take you guys to a new school 6-pack, 2025 style. Okay, so let me get it warmed up, start it up. Let's make one test. I've played with a lot of 6-pack, 6-barrels in my lifetime. Right now in my shop, I got 5 of them. Give me a few minutes, warm it up, and we'll take it from there. You know, tuning a 6-pack sometimes may be easy, and sometimes it's not. You know, you got vacuum secondaries, you got air-fuel ratio, you got when the secondaries open up late or too early, but there's always ways to fix it. And the best way to do it, fine-tune it, is in the car. Could be an automatic, could be a 4-speed, depending on the gear ratio. But here we just look at We get the air fuel ratio on full throttle, idle, and of course, doesn't run, look. It needs to warm up quite a bit before I can get it to idle. I have the choke tied open, so I want to make sure it doesn't close on full throttle. But you know, it's not attached to the choke yet.
Speak of the devil. The 6-barrel on Mathieu's 440 was running great yesterday after Nick put the new metering plates on the outboard carbs. Nick wanted to show his viewers a final pull on camera and then call this job done. But now the engine is running badly once again.
Right, very bad. Look. Not right, no good. No good. Look, no good, George. Look, look. It's a rebuilt carburetors, man. You shouldn't do that. Look, it's no good. I can't give it to him like that. Look, look. We're gonna have to let it warm up and see what happens. Look, look, look. It didn't run like this last night. Look. Jesus, perfect.
Nick uses a water bottle to check that the engine is firing on all 8 cylinders. He finds 2 cold pipes on the passenger side. And 2 more on the driver's.
Four cylinders are not working.
4 cylinders?
4 cylinders are not working.
Was it carburetor or something?
I don't know yet. 4 cylinders are not working. 2 here and 2 there.
You got wires?
I don't know. But it's running very, very rich on idle. I mean, on fast idle, it's running way too rich. It's no good. No, it's not wires. There's no spark joint.
Crank pressure going. The crank pressure not involved with carburetor.
They didn't do this yesterday, man.
Oh,
It was running perfect yesterday.
So
If-
2 are not working. I guess
Two-
2 in the middle, 2 outside.
Yeah, 2 inside, 2 outside. In other words,
That sounds like a carburetor problem.
so here I am trying to get it warmed up, and right now I realize we have an issue. I had it running yesterday. I did some testing yesterday with the Pro Max jetting setup. It went very well. I have it all here to show you guys. And for some reason, today it doesn't want to run. So I'm going to spend the night here trying to make it tune the way it ran yesterday. But in the meantime, we made some tests with the 4-barrel, and last night when it ran well with the 6-pack, we got identical numbers. We got 575, 576 foot-pounds of torque at both times at 43, 4400 RPM. And the horsepower both ended up at 57, 5800 RPM at 570, 568, 69 horsepower. So the 6-pack versus the 4-barrel were identical. Now, as you guys have noticed, it ran pretty bad. And you know, people invented the fuel injection for this reason. And this is the reason now we're gonna go to new school. Some people wanna go old school, like Matthew, and then of course, we got the new school. Let's go check out a 6-pack new school. Okay, let's go. Okay, and here we are. Here's another 440 big block. Of course, it's got a 6-pack or a 6-barrel. But if you take a good look, this is fuel injection. This is new school. Same intake manifold, big block, Mopar. Okay, so it's got bigger cylinder heads. It's got more cubic inch, maybe 493 cubic inch, which we're gonna put soon on the dyno. But I just wanted to tell you guys, this is fuel injection. It's gonna have a lot more plumbing, a lot of wiring. To tune it, yeah, you gotta know how to tune it. We have a laptop, you have to tune it, control it, and apparently, once you tune it, it's good for life. But you know, sometimes people talk about fuel injection. I've had some experience with some cars with fuel injection that we tuned in the shop. They ran for a month, 2 months, and after that, they have a mind of their own. They don't want to run, they don't want to idle, whatever. But this is another learning curve, you guys. We're going to try this on a dyno, see how it goes. And then later on, when it goes in the car, my client will see how it goes in the car and how long it lasts. Fuel injections are throttle body or multi-port, but this is old school looks. It's a 6-pack. It is fuel injected. It runs between 45 and 55, 60 PSI fuel pressure. It's gonna have a lot more plumbing, a lot of electricals. They're not vacuum secondaries like old school. This is gonna have a mechanical linkage, which I have not received yet. So I'm gonna figure that out when I get it. Then I gotta put on the plumbing, and then after that, it's all gonna be tuned by a laptop. But basically, they made the old school look, but modern technology, how the fuel has a distribution to the cylinders. And you know what? You gotta admit, you guys, this is a nice look. I'm old school. I've always worked with carburetors. I try to tune them to the best I can. And you know, I grew up with old carburetors, old school, and they work for me. This is something new. If someone else is gonna come into the shop and tune it for us or my client, and like I was saying earlier, this belongs to another client. He wants to go new school and he wants the old look 6-pack. There's two things to fuel injection. Well, one thing is you eliminate the choke, you eliminate the fast idle, you eliminate the vacuum secondaries, you eliminate a lot of little things because it's all controlled by a computer on this. But then again, you have some people that have cars that want the old school, that have the original carburetors, linkages, and vacuum secondaries, and plumbing, fuel lines, and you know, like myself, but they work. Once you're tuned right, they work. But like this client of mine, he wants the new school, but the old look. And here we have it. And like I said, you know, they're both good, they both work, but if it was up to me, I go with old school. No offense to Flytech, or should I say fuel injection, they're nice, but I like that old school look. You know, that's the way I am. I'm old school.
Stay tuned to Nick's for the dyno test of the newfangled 6-pack. But for now, Nick has to get back to 1969 and figure out what went wrong with Mathieu's old school setup.
So here we are, staying late at night again at my shop, trying to determine what's going on here because I tried to warm up the engine and it just ran super rich. Not at full throttle. Trying to warm it up for the first few minutes. And I noticed that a few cylinders were not firing. So I realized that the air-fuel ratio was showing very rich and the two cylinders on the other side were not firing, so I figured the plugs were fouled up. So I said there's a lot of fuel going on in the engine. So now I just took apart the center carb and I realized that this gasket seems to be damaged right beside the power valve. Now, could this be the problem? I'm not sure. It may be. So what I'm going to do is replace the gasket, put it all back together and see how it goes. just to drive you nuts. This is what makes you crazy. We were running too rich at full throttle when we had the engine on the dyno weeks ago. The engine ran okay in idle and everything was perfect. So what we did is we parked the engine on the side, removed the two outboard carburetors, got the adjustable Pro Max metering plates with the correct fuel jets, put the carburetors back on the engine, and of course back on the dyno. We never touched the center carb, never removed it, never took it apart. So now we put it back on the dyno. We made one test, went well, which you guys have seen the recording on the paperwork. And then the very next day, I wanted to make another test to go show you guys on video. It didn't want to run like you've seen earlier today when I couldn't get it to run on idle, warming it up. All because I never touched the center carb. And you know, you think you just touched the outboard carburetors, you think the problem is outboards. Here I am with Robert and I working tonight, taking them apart, looking at them. We don't see anything wrong. Then we put back the factory metering plates, went back, tested again. It still ran super rich and flooded the plugs. Then we said the problem is in the center carb. So we put back the Pro Max outboard carburetor metering plates. Then we took apart the center carb, changed the power valve and the center blue gasket, as you guys saw the metering body gasket, and there it is. So here we are trying to solve a problem. And no, this is not on the clock, in case you guys want to know. I'm not here to charge a customer. I'm here to make the customer happy. And I couldn't deliver the engine the way it ran. Now we finally got it fixed. I don't care how much time I put into it, I got it working. Now I could go home and then be satisfied. See, sometimes you're driven the wrong way. Here we are working on the outboard carburetors and the problems in the center carb. All I did was sit on the shelf or sit on the engine for 2 weeks in my shop. And then the next thing you know, the problems in the center carb. How did you think of that? Is that a nightmare or what? But anyways, bottom line is sometimes it's not an easy job. It's not a dream garage. You got to figure it out and use your brain. And there it is. We finally got it going, you guys. Here it is. Let me just show you one more time. I'm going to put the air fuel ratio on. Start her up.
That is the fuel ratio. It's perfect.
Look at this now. It's in the green. Give it a few seconds. It's idling, which we did not have this before. It's going to turn on. Watch this in the green. Give it a few seconds. There you go. We couldn't get that before. It was on the super. You know, these carburetors used to run super rich before on full throttle, not on idle. Now it's the opposite. Now we fixed the top full throttle, and now we got the idle. And we finally got it going. And you guys, sometimes it's just not a dream garage. And thanks for watching us here at Nick's Garage. And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. And help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.